Hey, brothers and sisters. So I was alerted to this excellent article from Harbinger's Daily by Brother Damon Duck in his prophecy report on RaptureReady.com. This article is entitled, "The UN's Goal is for America to surrender its sovereignty to a global government." Now, Damon Duck goes on to say, and I completely agree with him, that it is important to understand that the Bible teaches that a satanic world government will be established after the rapture. Every nation, including the U.S., will be subject to that world government. As Jesus said, except those days be shortened, no flesh would be saved. So what I want to do today is I want to read from this article from Harbinger's Daily, because I don't think people realize how close we are to a world government. We're really, in my opinion, one crisis away from one huge global crisis away from America losing its sovereignty and the UN getting this pact for the future going, which to us as believers speaks to a near rapture. So I think it's really important for us to understand what went down this past week at the United Nations. As the Heritage Foundation explained, in short, the Pact for the Future is an overt effort by the Secretary General to affirm that the United Nations should be the primary venue for addressing international development, international peace and security. Well, where have we heard that word before? 1 Thessalonians 5. And emerging technologies and innovations under its global governance. Under its accurate definition, the Pact is an unwise effort to bestow additional responsibilities on an organization that is unable to manage its current remit. So in effect, supporting these efforts at the United Nations and the World Health Organization is a vote to forfeit America's sovereignty over its own affairs, experts say. The Biden-Harris administration, Good added, apparently intends to fully support the surrender and compliance of the U.S. to the UN in these endeavors. The current administration is aligned with the international globalists that hate America. They hate the Constitution. They hate our founders and our founding Judeo-Christian principles, he added. Just how big is this threat, and why are so few Americans aware of it? Well, according to Good, this pact could swing open the door for the UN and the WHO to have authority to require such things as their international health regulations, including the surveillance of U.S. citizens, the censoring of dissenting views, and much more. Ultimately, he urged, the American people didn't vote for this. They didn't support this, which is why it is up to the people's representatives to expose and reject this. Speaking at the press conference, Representative Ralph Norman, a Republican from North Carolina, stated that what happens during the Summit for the Future later this month, when the pact is discussed, involves the risk of ceding America's authority, America's sovereignty, to China. He emphasized this is a top-line issue that America must be made aware of. The WHO needs to be defunded. We need to do away with it. And as the Sovereignty Coalition's Frank Gaffney contended, quote, "Make no mistake about it, the surrender of our sovereignty to global government is the agenda of the UN Summit of the Future. It is unmistakably what they hope to put in train with their so-called Pact of the Future." What is absolutely infuriating about all of this, Gaffney continued, is that most people in the media, most people in the government, certainly the vast majority of Americans, have no idea this is even going on. To elaborate, Good shared in an exclusive comment to the Washington Stand how Americans are not aware for a number of reasons. First, he said the Biden administration really doesn't want people to be aware. So they aren't talking about their intent to subordinate the United States to the governance of the UN, the WHO, and other entities. Second, Congress is not appropriately focused. even despite efforts for the better of a year to try to bring attention to this issue. Ultimately, it's difficult to get attention on it if House leadership has not engaged on it. And the media plays a role as well. He pointed out the media is not talking about it. These realities are what led Representative Andy Biggs, a Republican from Arizona, to argue that we can't allow this administration to turn over our healthcare apparatus to folks from an institution that has no concern for us. Echoing this, Representative Ronnie Jackson, a Republican from Texas, warned, quote, "As a physician who has followed the WHO for many years now, I can tell you that the WHO in particular and the UN in general do not represent what's best for this country. In fact, they do everything they can to undermine us and defeat us." Jackson declared, "I am a firm believer that from this point forward, we should never give another penny to the World Health Organization." Noting that Tuesday was Constitution Day, Chris Ullman, president of Eagle Forum, concluded that bringing awareness and speaking out about the dangers of the UN and the WHO represent is the first step to get us back to constitutional order and protecting America's sovereignty. So what I really want to address in this article is just how close we are to global government. We know that we have an administration currently that is siding with the United Nations to agree to this pact for the future, which is just another way of saying we want global government. We do not want American sovereignty. We do not want the Constitution. We don't want traditional values. We want to dismantle America. We have seen in the past 4 years what this administration has done. And if God allows the election to go the way of the Democrats, maybe per his judgment falling on us, per Romans chapter 1, then this could further speed up global government because they are really just one crisis away from dismantling American sovereignty. We saw what happened in 2020 and how so many Americans are completely oblivious to what is going on. And really, I think, brothers and sisters, this is a form of God's handing America over to global government. Now, if global government and the Antichrist, the man of lawlessness, cannot be revealed until after the rapture of the church, how close are we to the rapture of the church? Again, we do not know how much time will pass after the church is gone until these things begin to form, but they are looking for this crisis, be it a pandemic or economic crisis or the threat of World War III or a digital crisis such as a cyber attack, an EMP attack. You know, all these options are on the table. And these globalists are extremely desperate to get their way. And so they're already laying the foundation this past week at the United Nations for what we know will be the future tribulation 10 kings, this Antichrist revived Roman Empire kingdom that Daniel talks about. So we know this is all prophesied. But as we see what happened this past week at the United Nations take place, even Benjamin Netanyahu coming out and calling it a house of darkness. He called it a house of darkness. So, you know, the handwriting's on the wall, brothers and sisters. We can see this clear as day as people that watch prophecy. So, again, I will include the link to this article so you can read it for yourself, and also Damon Duck's Rapture Ready prophecy report. So with that said, Maranatha.